We are in for quite an economic shock, and the analogy that has been used by a famous hedge fund billionaire is really getting my attention. Now, let's talk about what that is and how gold plays in the mix as we explore. You know, there's a lot going on in the world today, and we know that we're running up crazy amounts of debt and a lot of spending, deficit spending, which leads to that debt and has a lot of people concerned, although we've not really felt any repercussions of it yet. But much like the silent killer that I'm going to be talking about here in a moment, well, that could happen to us economically in this country. Ray Dalio is the hedge fund billionaire I'm talking about, and the former owner and founder of Bridgewater Associates, large hedge fund. I'm going to reference an article here from Reuters that goes into exactly what he's talking about that has a lot of people very concerned. And before I get into that, I want to remind you of channel sponsor Summit Metals. They're a great company who has excellent customer service, and you can buy and sell from them as well. So check them out. They have sell prices over on their website from when you go to sell your precious metals. That's the number they're going to give you for your metals there. So check them out and experience their great customer service at summitmetals.com. Now, Bridgewater founder and the firm's former CEO, Ray Dalio, says gold might be a way to shield investors from unhealthy markets. And that is something we're seeing now, especially with the overburdensome debt that we are experiencing right now. Dalio warned that as the United States spends more to service its debt, this squeezes out other spending and builds up a plaque that would be a clogged human circulatory system as a comparison to that. A doctor would warn of a heart attack. And think about that. That's actually a really good analogy because all the spending that we're doing of these dollars orchestrated by government legislation. The Congress passes the legislation, the president signs it, and then they start to spend it. They're spending more than they're taking in. In other words, there's really no way to tax us out of prosperity or tax us into prosperity or into coming into a balanced budget anywhere near it. There's no way to tax. We're beyond that now. And that is a problem because that means we have to print more dollars, which in a sense creates a hidden tax on us all. And it means we can't spend as much for a healthy economy. And that squeezes out this other spending. That's actually a great an analogy that is using there. A well-diversified portfolio would have somewhere between 10 to 15% in the portfolio for gold, according to Dalio, who sold his remaining stake in Bridgewater Associates just recently in July and stepped away from the hedge fund that he founded. That's a pretty big deal. Gold was uncorrelated with other assets, its value tending to rise during a crisis when other assets fall, Dalio told attendees at a lunch event in Abu Dhabi Finance Week scheduled for December. So this is quite eye-opening and revealing as to what he thinks because, you know, it's no secret that Ray Dalio has been a fan of gold for a while and has talked about it. In fact, I've mentioned it on my channel several times when he's talked about gold. But this is the first time that he's that concerned about what could lead to a massive economic shock or heart attack of the economy. In other words, it could crash. And it's highly doubtful that we're going to see like a massive, crazy crash. They're going to do other things to try to prevent that, I think. And part of that could be a reset in the midst of it or at the onset of such symptoms that could occur. They would have time to do it. And I could see them doing that in order to save the system in general. You know, you've heard what the big bailouts that happened in 2007 and 2008. And George Bush, the president at the time, famously said that we must abandon free market principles in order to save the free market. It's kind of crazy, but that's exactly what they did. This time, I think it would be different. I think they don't have any of that choice much anymore because inflation, we've already had it and it's been rough, and we're still dealing with it right now, and it would only make that worse. And I think you delay the inevitable, and it'd be even bigger shock if that were to occur. So I think that's why a potential reset could be coming if that were to take place, and before that occurs. But we'll see. But him saying 10 to 15%, that is a good conservative number, and I would agree with that analysis. There's some that say it should be around 30 or 35% of your portfolio into gold. Well, I don't know that would go there, but many in the precious metal sector in our little sphere would probably think that should be a good number to have. And certainly it is for me, but what I have, it may not be right for you. But having a little bit of protection there is great, because what does gold do? It provides the ultimate hedge against all the other insanity and all the other markets and all the other situations that are out there. There's none like it in terms of value proposition. It's a hard asset. Central banks are holding it and storing it precisely because of what could be coming. And I think gold will be utilized in a reset situation. Because what else are you going to have to put faith on? Bitcoin? I don't think so. It's going to have to be tied to something. And gold would be that one element that I think the United States could do. And we have a Treasury Secretary right now that is a gold bug. And so that very well could be one of the reasons why you would consider having gold in your portfolio and how it could be used to help us get out of this situation. Now, I don't want to necessarily talk about a reset, but nonetheless, if this heart attack in terms of the overall economy is concerned, the U.S. economy and the system that we find ourselves a part of comes on very, very quickly, well, it may be too late to set in place some sort of reset unless they are already planned out in the case, but we'll see. Now, with the world abundant in debt and with the geopolitical tensions rising, investors should question, whose money do you own when thinking about building a neutral portfolio? And that's really what it boils down to. A neutral portfolio is gold. Because he's right. The world is in debt right now. It's not just the United States. There's trouble everywhere. The global debt crisis is a real thing. Standard Chartered CEO Bill Winters, who sat on the panel alongside Dalio, said that though market valuations in Europe were not as high as in the United States, the conditions were similar. The UK and France are in similar situations, but markets have been providing some severe constraints than the United States. All right, yes, indeed. We remember what happened with Greece, and they go into actual austerity measures, and they're still in pretty big trouble right now. But people don't like austerity. People don't like cuts to any of their entitlements or benefits or what have you. Now, obviously, things that you paid into, you deserve to get back. But nonetheless, it has become a Ponzi scheme the Social Security system has. And really, many of these other government programs are pretty much untrustworthy. It's crazy. And, having a bit of your holdings in precious metals in general, but gold in particular as the most stable store of wealth, you have to weigh that for yourself. You should not buy based off of what anybody says. Do your research on it all together, all around. Don't take my word for it, or even Ray Dalio's word for it. But one thing is for sure, I'm confident that any kind of research you do, you will find that gold has proven itself to be a stable store of wealth for a long amount of time. It just so happens that we live in an era now where gold just keeps on rising for the most part, with some slight pullbacks here and there, but even now it's trading in all-time record highs. It's crazy. But what a metal to own. And that's something that I'm proud to have in my portfolio. And ever since 2017, I've made that move to hold gold and to have it as part of a way to protect myself and to enjoy the beauty of the metal. But if you're coming in late, or if you think it's late because the prices have reached record level highs, you might be surprised. I think you should expect some pullbacks from here and there, but overall, I think you're going to do just fine with gold, buying it in small quantities. And I'm at a point now where I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy too much more, especially the 1 ounce plus size. But nonetheless, I still believe in gold and have another piece right now on layaway at a local coin shop that I frequent. So we'll see. It's a very, very small piece of gold. I think the 1 ounce size might be out for me for a while. So you just be agile. You have to be agile with where you're at with the markets and how much you can afford and when. But nonetheless, with everything seemingly has a potential to collapse around us in an instant, well, it may not be a bad idea to at least have some exposure to gold, whether it be 5, 10, or 15%. With the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, which are up over 11 and 13% respectively, so far this year, we saw on record levels recently, but gold has outperformed that this year. So, been a pretty amazing ride. So let me know what your thoughts are about this situation and this dire warning from Ray Dalio. If you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel and pressing that notifications bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device. With that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.